tell you because you married girls raised wrong. Some of you girls, I think wild dogs raised you. You're going to talk to a woman, I think, who in the hell raised her? A pack of dog pit bulls in a junkyard must have raised this girl. Because she got no idea how to do anything at all. She doesn't know how to keep her hygiene, let alone how to stop running a goddamn mouth. Why? Because she hasn't been raised right. So what do you have to do? You got to come in there and raise her all over again. Right. It's difficult to do. You understand? And that's why is a girl, why is a female child, why does she have to be separated from the congregation? Because that mother has to sit home with that girl child longer than that boy because she has a bigger responsibility. She has to be extra careful now. Far more careful than you do with a boy who you might let run down the street, at 8. Run to the store and rip and run and do whatever the hell he feels like doing, as long as he doesn't get locked up. Everybody understands, all right? Somebody had their hand on missing in the room. I'm good to go here. Morale.
All right, Colin, get the first question. It's not a scripture, sir. It's a brother. He asked, he said, "Can me and my family come to the Passover? I have come to the true knowledge of the Bible and left my church, and a lot of people have turned against me and turned their back on me, and it was hard at first. The true God is with me. Thank you, ISUPK."
Give him a hand. That's excellent, brother. If you did the right thing, you can come to the Passover, pay $200 for donation. Pay a $200 donation, and let me tell you something else you could do to truly show that you're not just all talk. Everything that you were giving that church, give it to the UPK. Everybody gets that? I see y'all. I can tell y'all why y'all was shot. If you were somebody sitting in the church getting in the $100 line, the $50 line, the fund for Pastor's Royce, the fund to buy Pastor a jet, nobody's going to ask you for that in here. Give it up of your own. Decide, I'm going to give everything that I used to give to the Christian church. I'm going to give it to the UPK. No one is going to ask you for it. Do it on your own. Then I'll know you're not all talk. And then now when you're in the Passover with these righteous people and these holy priests, you will feel worthy to be there. Everybody understand? Right? Let's get it. Next question. You holding something up? What about that one about Christ and when he was a child? Let's see what you got. What you got up front? Give me one more time.
Galatians 5 and 4 to verse 9.
Go ahead.
Just a breakdown.
Please. Well, say it again.
Galatians chapter 5, verse 4. They want to break down on Galatians
5 and 4. Let's go.
Come. Galatians chapter 5, verse 4. Christ has become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace.
Read 2 verses above it. I'll explain.
Verse 2. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing.
Read that again.
Behold, I, Paul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing.
Keep going.
For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law.
Read again.
For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law.
Who can now? This is such a heavy scripture because this is one of the scriptures that the Christian church uses, misconstrues, and flat out lies on to propagate sin in the Black community. Now remember, as I go to break this down, I want you to think about where you came from, the neighborhood you lived in, the house you lived in, and think about your life, and then think, was the problem with my life that my family kept too many laws? That's what you got to ask yourself. Is the problem with the Black community we keep too much law. We obey so much law, we're ruining the Bible, because black people are just so lawful that we are just not experiencing the love of Jesus. Now, as I go to break this down, you ask yourself about your neighborhood, your house, and you say to yourself, when that man molested me, was it because he was keeping so much law? He was obeying the law just too much when he molested me. When those men sold my mother drugs, was it because they just were keeping the law so much and obeying the law so much? When they murdered your brother, was it because they just love the law of God and they just need to stop? And I'll break it down to you while you're thinking about that, all right? Captain of Cod, let's run.
Sorry, it was 2 years ago.
Please.
Behold, I, Paul, say to you, that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing.
If you be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. This is why. Keep going.
For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law.
Keep going.
Christ is become of no effect unto you, whosoever of you are justified by the law.
Now, Paul is telling the people who are circumcised, Christ does no good for you because you are a debtor to the whole law. What does that mean? And why is Christ of no effect to them? Come on, Captain Soccer Boy.
He's saying y'all don't need Christ to redeem y'all or to forgive you for sins because you've been perfect. You've been keeping the law your whole life.
No. And think about who's talking and think about who he's talking to. And think about the million precepts for this. Captain Akkad.
They circumcised in the flesh, but they not doing nothing else.
Give him a hand. This is what he's, now as I say this, the precepts are going to flood your mind. This is what he's telling them. You care about being what?
Circumcised.
But you don't care about what?
Having sex with the Lord. Circumcised in your heart.
What does that mean?
Keeping the law.
So you care, you say to yourself, I'm circumcised. But you don't care about you on it. You care about keeping some laws, but the rest you don't care about. So I'm talking to you people who are circumcised. You are indebted to keep the whole law. Christians read that and go, well, if you're circumcised, then you got to keep the law. That's not what it's saying. Paul is saying, you people who are circumcised, don't forget you're supposed to do all of them.
Right.
Do you understand? Now, give me my precepts. You omit the weightier matters of the law. You pay tithe of mint and cinnamon and cumin, and you omit justice. Come on, Soccer War.
Mark chapter 7, verse 6.
Please.
Mark chapter 7, verse 6. He answered and said unto them, well have ye said, prophesied of you hypocrites.
You what?
You hypocrites.
Here's the problem with people who were circumcised. They were hypocrites. They believed that because they were circumcised on the 8th day, they were the heirs to Abraham's kingdom. And they were the rulers of the planet Earth, and they were going to receive the kingdom. Why? Because they were circumcised on the 8th day. They came from good families. You understand? Which is what being circumcised meant. It meant your mother and your father were not, finish my thought, your mother and your father were not sinners. Your mother and your father went to the temple. You had good parents. And because you had good parents, you were getting the kingdom. Because your parents walked you as a baby into that temple and got you circumcised. You were going to the kingdom. Does that sound familiar? That's life here in America. Because you grew up in a church-going family, and you grew up in a two-parent family. And your father always worked, and y'all went to church. Of course you should rule the world. Of course you should have the kingdom. Paul is saying you are indebted to keep the whole law. You can't just be circumcised and think that's good enough. That's the point. The point is, it's not good enough to just be circumcised. It's not good enough to just pay tithes. Give me the precept for this in James. When Paul said the same, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know it, Danielle. Hang on to it first. Captain Soccer War.
Mark chapter 7, middle verse 6. This people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
Oh, they talk like they love God. They talk a good game. They talk it, but their heart be circumcised in your heart. That's what Paul said. Circumcise, therefore, the foreskin of your heart. What does that mean? Meaning, you're so worried about the fact that your parents were good, righteous people that your heart, your mind is not given to the Lord, because that circumcision law is the last one you kept. You ain't never kept another goddamn law, ever. That's it. After that baptism, that christening, that time you went to the church and got saved, you never kept another law ever. You forgot God after that. Every black and Hispanic person has that day they walk into some church and does some holy hallelujah thing. They go in there and they've been baptized. They've been, give me something, they've been christened. They went to church and they got saved. They walked to the altar. Oh my God. That day was supposed to change everything, wasn't it? Right. That day that you walked down to the altar and gave your life to Jesus. And you kept getting high. And you kept hoeing. And you kept sleeping with transsexuals after that. But you did go to the altar and give your life to God. So you're saved, right? That ain't good enough.
Right.
Captain Akai.
I believe on the note in Matthew 23 and 25.
Go ahead.
It says, woe unto you, scribe and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you may clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion.
You may clean the outside of the cup and the platter, the plate. Inside, your heart is not circumcised. You can precept this with, you may clean, the outward appearance, but circumcise the foreskin of your heart. It's in Jeremiah 17, and it's in the New Testament, all right? Sakawar, keep going to where, you know what I want. Go ahead.
Mark 7 and 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines of the commandments of men.
That's not direct enough. I want you omit the weightier matters of the law. That's what I want. Look up the word omit. You have it?
Sir. The sister's asking for the, this is an old question. Sister asking for the tithes info after you said, speaking about the tithes and giving everything you gave to the Christian
Right.
church.
Right.
She said, well, may I have the tithes info so she can give her 10%.
You give her a hand. She's sincere. She is sincere. Precept. She is sincere. Precept. No. I'm not. Give him a hand. Hold up now. Give him a hand. Where your treasure is, there also shall your heart be. If you don't put your money into something, you don't care about it. That is the ultimate test for whether or not you love that thing. Some brothers love their car, and they put the spinners on that thing. And they get a paint job, and it's wet. And that thing is beautiful, and they spend weekends on it, their car. They spend money on their car. Some people love their woman, and they spill money into their woman. Some women love their man, and they spill money into their man. When whatever thing you put your money in, that's the thing you love. And if you don't put your money in it, you're lying. Simple enough. You don't really love it. You're not willing to give it that thing that you need. You understand? That thing that is short and that you don't have a lot of. You're not willing to actually sacrifice for it. Wheresoever your treasure is, there also shall your heart be. People call me all day and they say, thank you, General Hyman, for counseling me. Thank you for all you've done. I always say, listen, man, don't worry about that. You don't got to do that. Just give me money. That's it. You know, I understand. Listen, the water, but I don't need that. Just go put money in an envelope and put it in the mail or put it in that box and give me money.
Right.
Because then I know you actually care. Right? That's simple enough to understand, right? Come on. Am I making it clear? I want your money. Is that clear? God, I don't want to wishy-washy around that thing. I want you to give me money. God.
Matthew 23:23, sir.
Please, read it.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint.
That's the one I want. Read it again.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites.
This is what Paul is trying to say about them that are circumcised. They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They've been circumcised. So they think that's all they had to do. They think that's good enough. You hypocrites, go ahead.
For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law.
Have what?
Omitted the weightier matters of the law.
They kept the tithe law, and they threw away everything else. Does that sound familiar? Right? For these people that say you can't keep the law, you're a debtor to the law. The law is nailed to the cross.
Right.
Pay your tithes, pay your offerings, pay your first fruit offerings, pay this. Me and Ariel was watching the video today, but some bitch said, some Edomite, she said, the Lord loves the first of everything. So give your first month's pay. You heard me? I said, hold up, what? She said, the Lord loves first, first fruit, first this, the first part of your paycheck. She said they had to give her 1 month's income, 1 year's income, because the Lord loves the first. And I said, they complain about me. They better give me my goddamn money. Every penny of it. All of it. I want the money you were giving that drug dealer. I'll tell you, I'll start with that. I want the money you were giving your weed man, Pookie and Ray J and Tom Tom and Boo Boo and them on 52nd Street. I want the money you've been making drug dealers rich. Drug dealers got tigers in the goddamn backyard. Right. Because you paying drug dealers that much money where some nigga from North Philly has a tiger. That's what I want you to give up in here. Right. Or else you don't love the UPK as much as you love getting high. You hypocrite. You can't just keep one law. You are indebted to keep them all. Everybody understands. Go back to the brother's question.
Romans 2:25, is this a good precept for the circumcision? It says, for circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcised.
That's the killer precept. That's the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for that one right there. Give him a hand. That is the precept you have to give with this breakdown to cut Christians. That one. Because Christians read this scripture and think, well, if you're circumcised, then you got to keep the law. Instead of, if you're circumcised, it ain't good enough to just be circumcised. You're going to have to keep all of the laws for it to matter. Tell them where that precept was, please.
Sir. It's in Romans chapter 2, verse 25.
Romans 2:25. Read it again.
The book of Romans chapter 2, verse 25. For circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law.
Read it again.
For circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law.
What does the word verily mean? Definitely. Circumcision definitely profits if you keep the law. But if you don't keep the law, what difference does it make that you don't have foreskin on your rod? Who cares? What difference does it make if that's the only law you're ever going to keep in your life? How many Americans are circumcised? Virtually all of them. Virtually every American is circumcised. And look at America. Because that's the one thing they do. You get the point? Keep reading it one more time and give it to them.
For circumcision verily profiteth if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision.
What's the point? You are getting to keep the whole law. You can't just say, I'm circumcised, and then go out and have sex with whores and transsexuals and God knows what else. And eat pork and eat shrimp and eat crab and yet say, I'm circumcised. Where's the precept the brother asked the question about? Where do we start? Who knows? Nobody knows. Go ahead. It was in Galatians, the 4th chapter, right? Galatians 4. Go ahead. Go ahead and read it. Any questions in the room? Ask them now. Come on. Go ahead. I got you. 1 second. I got you, sir.
Galatians chapter 5, verse 2. Behold, I Paul said to you that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify.
Why shall Christ profit them nothing? Why is it no good that they believe in Christ? Young man. No. Why is Christ no good for them if they're circumcised? Come on, Malachi.
Came to people that was uncircumcised?
No. Why is Christ no good, of no benefit to them that are circumcised? I just gave you 10 precepts, probably. Tazaiwan.
Because the people who just think that they're circumcised, they're under the old.
No, don't ever say that. Go ahead.
The people that were circumcised would keep the some of the law and not all of the law.
Because the people that were circumcised, that's all they were. You understand? That's all they were. Raise your hand if you're a man in this room and you were circumcised when you were a child. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're in this room if you never celebrated Christmas. Raise your hand. Oh, Aria, he think he's sorry. I ain't gonna keep going because he's gonna have his hand raised through the whole damn thing. We were all circumcised, but we all ate pork, and we all ate shrimp, and we all murdered and stole and lied, and we were all circumcised. So the circumcision was irrelevant, and Christ profited us nothing because Christ didn't change us. You understand? We didn't have the Spirit of Christ. How do you know we didn't have the Spirit of Christ? Trooper right here. Give him a hand. Because we weren't keeping the law. Because if we had the Spirit of Christ, we would not steal. We would not lie. We would not murder. We would not break the commandments. That's how you know that someone is a good person. Because they don't steal your car, sleep with your wife, molest your kids. Am I telling you something that doesn't make sense anymore? Come on, Marah.
A sister, just on the topic of circumcision, she in the school, she said, does the ISUPK perform circumcisions after 8 days, or do you have it done in the hospital?
We have it done in the hospital. ISUPK does not perform circumcision. We don't have any doctors in here yet. Lord allow, one day we'll get some doctors and then we'll perform circumcisions. Until that day, go to a doctor and get that circumcision. That boy needs that rod. It is important to it. Let a professional handle that. Sis.
What is the spirit behind boys being circumcised?
What is the spirit behind boys being circumcised, officer?
The Lord wants you to hurt for that pain.
The Most High wants every boy to be in pain to serve him. That's the point. The point is Moses had a heathen wife. And Moses said, I got to get my son circumcised. And she refused. And Moses took the boy and circumcised him anyway. And his wife said, oh, bloody man. Oh, bloody man, meaning you're going to take my child and rip the foreskin off his penis? You bloody man. And Moses was a bloody man. And so were his children. And in the UPK, we raise bloody men. And that's the point. The point is to raise a boy who is bloody, who has been blooded, who has been cut, who has been hurt, who has suffered, and those babies are in pain. Woo. You know it. You know what I'm on now. They go them babies after that circumcision. They young and they hurt. It's horrible. And he did it. And he got through it. And the pain went away. And he's a man. You get the point. Come on.
The brother said, what if you've never been circumcised?
If you've never been circumcised, don't worry about it. A lot of Benjamites and Levites and on those islands, they don't circumcise you. You don't need to be circumcised. We'll find a way to make you hurt. That's all. Don't worry about it. Just bring that anteater in here and the Lord will give you a woman that loves that anteater. But I'm going to tell you something. You still going to hurt. You come into UPK, we'll give you enough pain to make up for any circumcision that you did not get. Why? Because Paul said, circumcise the foreskins of your heart. So although you can go back in time and be circumcised at 8 days old, that's over, right? But you can circumcise your heart when you come through the doors of this school. And we will make you pay. We'll make you hurt. Some of us are experts in making people hurt. You know that, young man.
I had a question about circumcision.
Please.
So if a man, like you said, doesn't like they then circumcise themselves, do they still have to?
They do not have to. If you are not circumcised, first of all, the law says 8 days old. So if it was 9 days, it was too late. If it was 10 days, it was too late. You don't have to get a circumcision. If you want to get a circumcision, you can. It's not unlawful to get it, but you don't have to do it. You understand? Commander General Yohannes from a West Indian island, he was circumcised like 12 years old, and he went through hell. He tells me about it. It was absolutely horrible, but he did it at 12 or something like that. If you're not circumcised, you don't have to get circumcised. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to. It won't affect your keeping of the whole law. You understand? You cannot be circumcised and still keep every law in that Bible. It just means your parents didn't keep that first one concerning you. You understand? And that's in the Bible, all right? Am I done here or not? Galatians, we good here? Anything else?
Khan, they asked for a breakdown on Psalms chapter 23, verse 4 to 6.
Read it, please. Psalms 23, verse 4 to 6. Marat.
And I got one more question.
Go ahead.
I have a few more questions, but this one I don't have the scripture. It says, is time travel real?
No. Let me stop. Time travel is real. I time travel all the time. What does the Most High call time travel? Give her a hand. God damn. How did you get that right? That's what God teach me to. She's reading my mind. The white man, you watching a ton of Wakanda and Black Panther, and you all into time travel and all that nonsense. Time travel is fictional. It always has been. It was invented by a novelist. What was that cat's name? He made the movie The Time Machine back in the 50s or the 40s or something like that.
Are you referring to the Philadelphia Experiment?
No, that had nothing to do with time travel. This is a cat that wrote a book about time travel. He wrote a book about going back in time and seeing the dinosaurs and all types of nonsense like that. Time travel is like Wakanda. It's made up and make-believe. But the Most High gives all of us the ability to go back in time. And it's called memories. Memories. Memories are how you go back in time. You'll sit in a chair, and before you know it, you're back in 1985. 19, don't go back there. Nobody want to go back there. But you're back in time, sis.
In my case of memory, spiritually, what would deja vu be? And I'm not talking about like deja vu when somebody's under the influence, like you're conscious, you're sober-minded, but you go through an experience that you really feel as though you've experienced before.
Okay. Deja vu is real. Deja vu is not time travel. Here's the problem. Your mind remembers things that you don't remember you remember. You understand? Like you remember a lot. You don't remember it, in your conscious, but you remember it in your subconscious. So you might go to a place and go, wait a minute, I've been here before. This reminds me of something because it reminds you of something. You understand? It looks like something, seems like something. It's like a dream. Dreams come from the busyness of the day. Think about the things that you see every day. Then one day something reminds you of a thing. You don't know what it's reminding you of, so you assume it's from a former life or something like that. You assume you a time traveler or you from Wakanda. Who the hell knows what you're thinking? Here's what you know. You've seen a lot in your years. Most things you've seen, you don't even remember that you've seen. You get my point?
Right.
That's all it is. You've seen a lot, you forgot a lot until you see something that reminds you of something that you've seen. Everybody understands that, which is where a lot of psychological pain comes from as a child. You might have been 5 years old and something happened to you and it hurts you. And you were so young, you might have been 3. And you barely can't remember, but you remember the pain of it. And then you watch something or see something and then you go, it makes you cry. Because you've been through that. Not in a former life, not in a time machine, but when you were very young.
Right.
You understand, right? Go ahead.
So on this topic, I read something about like the subconscious part of your mind.
Mhm.
It says that like it can't comprehend the future or the past. And when you think of like stuff that happened, it makes you feel a certain way. Because like your subconscious part of your mind thinks it's happening right now.
Right.
So it makes you feel the same emotion. Like is that true?
I mean, that's a little, complex. What you want to do is avoid all of that.
Right.
Here's what you want to know. You are not remembering something from a former life.
Right.
You are remembering something from this life. Be done with it past that.
Right.
I don't teach magic. You don't understand that. Okay, you're remembering something from this life. Who knows when? Who knows? Recently, I went to some park in South Philly, and I was standing in this park, and I was going, wait a minute, this park, I've been to this park before. I was in there like, this is something is going on here. And I started racking my head because, of course, I don't believe in stupidity and believing in past memories and time travel. So I started going, how is it that I've been here, but I don't remember? And because I don't believe in Wakanda and things like that, then it hit me that my mother and father had a ceremony here. I called Captain Kyle Ward. I said, where did our mother and father have a ceremony? He said, that park. You get my point? Now, if you're sitting around going, wait a minute, I must be from the planet Mars and I must have came in from the supernatural realm, then you're not going to look for a solution or an explanation that's a lot simpler. You want to just look for something that's simple. You've been there. It's reminding you of something. You get my point? And you just get out there and go to camp every week and show. All right? Go ahead.
Does it have any importance if you remember things from when you were real small, like smaller than most people have memory of?
Does it have any importance? Here's the key. The key is it has less importance. What will Satan tell you that it has? More importance. So now something that happened to you at 5, you will think, what about it?
That's the point I remember.
It's the biggest thing in the world. Because when I was 5, this man did something to me. When I was 3, this thing happened to me. And now you ruin your 30s over it. When what you really want to do is go, it happened to me when I was 3. I'm all right. Right? You're sitting there. Right? Something that happens to you at 5, at 3, does it have to ruin your 20s and your 30s? Does it have significance? Yes. How much significance? Not a lot. Satan tells you it has. Satan tells people the things that happen to you when you're very young are the biggest things. You get my point? Right. Satan will tell you that's the biggest thing. When I was two, this happened. My life is over. What you want to do is think things that happened to me when I was very young was a long, long time ago, and here I am, and I made it. That's what you want to do, all right? Marah, the precept you asked for. Where was it?
Psalms 23,
See me down, y'all.
verse 4 to 6. Psalm chapter 23, verse 4 to 6.
Read it.
Psalms chapter 23, verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Let's break it down. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Where does that term come from? The valley of the shadow of death. It comes from Sheol. Look it up in your Bible dictionary. Let's go. The Bible dictionary is on the van. You want to look up Sheol. Sheol was a place. You know, okay, if let's say you were an adulterer. The Bible says that adulterers have to be killed, right? If you were killed or stoned for being a sinner, they would dump your body in a pit. You weren't given the honor of a normal burial. So if you were, a woman and a man caught in adultery, you were stoned to death, they dump you in a pit. They dump you in a big valley, which is what a pit is. It was a hole, and everybody was just thrown in that hole if they were a dishonorable, sinful person, and they were killed because of their crime. Please.
They had that in the movie Mortal Kombat.
I didn't see it.
Where they threw them.
I did not see it, but let's focus on reality. This is a real thing. This ain't Wakanda. Hold on one second. This is absolutely real, and there was a real place. It was a real pit, and it was called Sheol, Malakia.
Do you spell it S-H-E-O-L?
Let me hear it. Hold you. Put your hand down. Go ahead.
Sheol, the Old Testament name for the place of departed souls, corresponding to the New Testament for Hades.
The place corresponding to the New Testament's Hades or hell, right? This is the actual place that hell was. It wasn't a spiritual place. It was a giant pit that bodies were thrown. It was like Potter's Field or some graveyard that people went in who were dishonorable and deserved to die. Keep reading.
The reason for this variety of transition is that hell is ordinarily thought of as a place of punishment, and so grave is substituted when the reference is to the soul of good men.
You understand? Meaning, so since hell is considered a place of punishment, grave is substituted. They would throw them in this thing, and because they were evil, over time, people begin to associate this thing with hell. But it was a pit, a valley. Now go back to the scripture. The book of Psalms, right?
Psalms 23 and 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
This is David speaking. David said, yea, though I walk through what?
The valley of the shadow of
death. The valley of the shadow of death. What does the term shadow of anything mean? Up front.
Like it's on you. It's like it's near, it's close.
No.
Shadow is something that is cast from blocking out the sun, like.
It's okay. A shadow of there's you stand right here, and then there's your shadow, right? So a shadow is the what of something else. Better answer. This is you. This is the actual you right here. Your shadow is the what of you, sister in the back. Well, you were coach. You're right there. Lyman. Give me image. I got to take image. Give him a hand. Image. So it's not actually you, but it's the image of you. Well, David is saying he's walking through the shadow of the valley of death, meaning David knows there's a place in Israel where sinners are killed and thrown in. And he is walking through a place that's the image of that place. Meaning, who is in this place? Who is in this place that David is walking through? Come on, y'all, bring me home. Marah.
The sinners.
The sinners. Give him a hand. David is walking through a place with men and women who are adulterers, people who eat pork, murderers, sinners. They're everywhere. So it's as if you were in. It's as if you were in. He's right, but come on.
The valley of the shadow of death.
It's as if you were in Sheol. It's as if you were in a pit full of people who are in here because they're sinners. But it's not them, it's the image of them. So it's adulterers, homosexuals, murderers, thieves, liars, heathens, and you are in there with them. And it's scary. It's scary. Does this sound familiar to you? This is your block. This is every day in your neighborhood trying to exist around people who in another time would be stoned and thrown in a pit. Sis.
The strangest thing happened to me. There was this man that lived across, well, I think he lived across the street.
Mm-hmm.
He started standing outside of my house. Like I would like open the door and he'd be standing right there. And like if my mom was there, he would move, like he wouldn't even come near the house.
Come.
And then I started feeling a little worried. It's like, why does he keep standing in front of my house?
Mm-hmm.
And then a few days later, you know how Hispanics have those little like shrines with the candles?
Mm-hmm.
Like a week later, I walked past the shrine and it was him and the guy. And it was like, I felt
Relief.
Yeah, I felt relief.
Give him, man. People, stay away from the doors of people in the truth. Go home and live. Now, everybody gets that. Iman's wife lives there. So go home and get to go on and see your kids and live a good life, or the other thing happens. All right? You have something? Go ahead.
I had a question. So it says the Bible speaks of a lake of fire and brimstone. If there is no hell, then what is the lake of fire?
The lake of, well, first of all, how do you know it can't be hell? Because what burns in a fire? Flesh and blood, right? Spirits can't burn in a fire. Your ghost can't burn. Christians tell you that your spirit goes somewhere and burns. What burns in your spirit if you don't have fingers and arms and flesh and bone to burn? When you cook a chicken, do you cook the chicken's soul? Right?
Right.
I fry a chicken every now and again. I don't fry his soul. I fry a chicken's wing, his breast and his thigh. You burn flesh. Well, how do you go somewhere and burn if you don't have a body? The lake of fire is just that. It's a sea of flames that burns flesh and bone.
Right.
What's the lake of fire? America.
Right.
America is going to burn through thermonuclear war. What's going to burn in America? What's going to burn? Young man. Not me. Give him a hand. Flesh and blood. Bones. People are going to burn. That's with nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons kill people, not ghosts and spirits. It kills people.
Right.
You get the point, right? In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what burned? Ghosts, spirits, Japanese people burned. Well, in the lake of fire, Americans are going to burn. You understand, Marah? We good here, sis.
Well, going back to the pit, when you explain what the pit was,
Right.
then you have what they talk about in Revelations as the bottomless pit.
Okay.
It's not a real place, but is it connecting to that? Like,
Yes.
It's so deep.
Yes. It's not a real pit. The book of Revelations are a collection of dreams had by a man of God. His name was Johanna or Johanathan or John, all right? And he had dreams, and he wrote these dreams down in a cave. And he had a dream about a bottomless pit. Bottomless meaning what you just said. It's so deep, and it's so deep, which would mean what to you if you were in it?
Then
It's hard to get out. Give her a hand. It's so deep, it's impossible to get out of. He's having a vision about something. All of it means something else. The problem is, in the Christian church, the Christians only understand how to make money. So they can't break down the book of Revelation to you. They don't know what it means. It has nothing to do with buying a helicopter. So how in the hell could they know what it means?
Right.
But that's what it means, all right? Where we at? Marah.
Psalms 23, 4-6.
Psalm, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry, Daniela. Go ahead. Malachi, you at it? Who else?
Psalms 23 and 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
You got that now because you're in a place full of sinners, but I will not be afraid. Oh, I'm in a place full of murderers, full of thieves, full of liars, full of Christians. I will not be afraid. Keep going.
For thou art with me.
Why will I be afraid? Because the Most High is with you. Though everyone on your block steals and lies and murders and kills, and criminals and gangbangers and drug dealers and Christians, the Most High is with you. He's with you. So you don't have a reason to be scared. Fear is a major problem when you're Black and Hispanic. Fear is a major reason why so many people do not come into the ISUPK. Because they're scared. They're scared. Here's what scares you. You're in a cult. Cult. Okay. Fine. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of some silly word. What does the word culture mean? Who knows? You can look it up if you want. That would be the best thing to do. Culture. You have it? Go ahead.
It says the act of developing the intellectual and moral facilities.
That's the wrong definition. That's one of the definitions, but not the specific one. On to culture, Akkad.
The beliefs, customs, arts of a particular society, group, place, or time.
That's culture. The word culture comes from what word? Cult. Because a cult is a group of people and what they believe. Here you are, you're afraid to come into the school because your mama calls you, says you're in a cult, and your mama was a hoe. How many baby fathers does your mother have? How many men was she having sex with? How many of her boyfriends molested you? And your mama says you're in a cult and you don't want to come into the UPK because that slut said you were in a cult. I'd grow up if I were you. I'd go ahead and grow up. What do you think? Your grandmama is saying, you're in a cult. Oh, I can't. Oh, my goodness. Grandmama said I'm in a cult. Oh, no, I can't join that. What did your grandmama call T.D. Jakes and Eddie Long when he was having sex with children? She said that was fine. You're scared of being called a cult member? I'd be a cult 10 times over before I'd be a Christian.
Right.
10 times. I joined a cult, join it again, join it 16 times. Drench myself in cult before I'd be a Christian child molester.
Right.
But your problem is you're scared of everything. You're scared of disappointing your mommy and your grandmommy and the people on your job. Forget about Facebook, my God. You're afraid of being, of anybody on Facebook disagreeing with your lifestyle,
Right.
disagreeing with your, bring me home. Culture, give him a hand. You're afraid of anyone on Facebook disagreeing with your culture. What are you women afraid of? Women are going to say your husband has other women, right? You a polygamist. Oh, no, polygamist. Because no black women have men that cheat on them and have other women.
Right.
You in a polygamy? Because your mother has never slept with a man that has other women, right? That ain't never happened to your mom, right? Your mom only dated upright Christians that only slept with her.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Sis.
Women scared to be called weak because their husband is her Lord.
Women are scared to be called weak because her husband is her Lord.
Right.
That is so, oh no. You're not an alone bitch who makes her own decisions.
Right.
Who's sad and on pills and weed just to get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
Oh no, a man tells you what to do? Are you joking? You gotta stop being so scared of people. Stop being scared all the time. Scared of everything. You're like a high school kid under peer pressure. Peer pressure rules your life. Peer pressure is how you make all of your decisions because you are something that is not allowed in the UPK. You are a coward.
Right.
Please.
Khan, I will fear no evil.
You get that? I'm not afraid of the adulterers, the murderers, the thieves. I'm not afraid of the people who would be stoned and thrown in a pit in our kingdom. I'm not afraid of what they can do to me because the Most High is with me. Keep going.
Khan, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
The rod meaning once his stick and his staff, they comfort him. Break that down for me. Christians could never get this. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. Let me see. Young man right here with the sunglasses. What does that mean? And this protection does what? And so this protection does what? Give him a hand. Here's the thing about being in the UPK. I don't believe that no one would ever do anything evil to us. Someone might try to shoot us. Someone might try to murder us. Someone might try to harm us. That is possible. But the Most High has a weapon for people like that. And knowing that he has weapons comforts me. Because I know that the people that try to harm us are going to die.
Right.
They're going to be killed. And so it gives me a sense of ease and a sense of calm because I know that although my enemies have guns, my Father has weapons too. You get the point?
Right.
My Father is armed. You understand that?
Right.
So now caring about how he's armed is irrelevant because my Father also has weapons. You get the point. Keep going.
Khan, verse 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies.
Beautiful scripture. Thou preparest a table for me in the presence of my enemy. Break it down quickly. I gotta go. God. Give me the metaphor first. What's the metaphor?
Meaning, before his enemies, the Lord has a table prepared for me, and He's gonna feed them.
Meaning, imagine a table, big long table, and on this table is chicken and turkey and steak. I eat steak. Everybody knows that. Steak and Lafroig single malt scotch. And imagine a table with every delicious, wonderful thing on it. That's good enough, right? You've been to a feast. We're about to have a feast at the Passover.
That's right.
We're gonna have a full-blown feast. So Barakatah how y'all shot. So imagine having a feast. One of them feasts is so good, you gotta take a picture of it because it looks that good. Now, imagine a feast in front of the people that wanted you to starve. Oh, it makes it so much better. You understand? It ain't just a feast, but it's a feast so that that bastard who wanted you to starve has to watch you eat. The Lord prepareth a feast in the presence of my enemies. I'm not just going to eat the greatest, most delicious meal on a long table, but my enemy will have to watch. The food tastes better like that, Malak. The food tastes good like that. When you know he's looking, she's looking, she's watching. As you tearing up that food and she over there looking. It's delicious, man. I mean, you thought I was going to stop. You thought I was going to have nothing. Oh, and everything is so much sweeter. And that's what David knew that he was going to get. Keep going.
Oh God. Thou anointest my head with oil.